You deserve it. You guys deserve it. All right, stop. That's enough. Because the real reason we invited you here today, Arrowhead, is to thank you for making the perfect game to launch our online PC presence. As you can see, we added this message to your game today, and we're just going to assume that, we're going to be able to maintain these reviews. It's not that big of a deal. We're going to assume that, the PC player base is just going to accept it like most of our consoles.
Oh, Sony. What the hell are you doing? PlayStation's had an unstable relationship with the gaming community since its creation. It was a bit of a darling during the PS1 era, going head-to-head with mega giant Nintendo, and Sega was also there, and completely dunking on both of them, allowing it to become the mega giant with the PS2, but still be beloved by the general gaming audience that wasn't GameCube owners watching all their third-party games go to the PS2. And then, absolutely not, go fuck yourself. The first major falling out PlayStation had with gamers was during the start of the PS3 generation, because you see, due to Sony being on top of the world during the PS2 generation and beating all the competition and beating them badly, they got a bit of a big head. And by that I mean, they got a head so fucking big that it could be seen coming out of their headquarters in Japan and overcasting Mount fucking Fuji. And due to this, by 2005 and 6, because of how popular the last system was, they thought that the general gaming audience would just let them get away with anything, no matter how BS, just because it had the words play and station on it. So they coughed up this Spider-Man infested thing a year after the 360, because gamers would just wait for them, right? For $600 pissing down the drain, because this thing had no fucking support for years. And mind you, that was in 2006. The PS5 in 2024 cost $100 less. The games don't, though. You see, the PS3's internals were genuinely insane for the time and even hold up today, using something called the Cell microprocessor to make it a super advanced system. The problem was nobody knew how the fuck to use it, causing third-party games to run worse on the more powerful system because devs just made it for the 360 and then shittily ported it over. But it's okay. We're PlayStation. The devs will just have to figure out how to use it so that their games can survive, right? And thus, Sony's first major shit show and loss of trust with the gaming audience, forcing them to play catch up for the rest of the generation, and credit where it's due, actually become pretty consumer friendly for the latter half of the 7th gen. Cheaper models, because we fucking need some. Back-to-back powerhouse exclusives, a free online service to Microsoft's paid one, though we see where that's gone. Thanks for that, Microsoft. And by 2013, actually make a comeback while Microsoft began to fucking make HAL 9000 and a sidekick for your television.
TV experience. Xbox. Watch TV.
Dog model. So by 2013, the tide switched again. Now with Microsoft having a bulging fucking brain sack presenting this in 2013, and just like Sony did 7 years earlier on the same show, rest in peace, completely destroy the reputation they had spent 8 years building up. While Sony on that same event showcased the very well received PS4 and completely dominating the 8th gen, which leads us to now. And history would tell you that Sony right now is being the douchebag while Microsoft is being Mr. Consumer Friendly. Well, if I had written this script yesterday, then I would have agreed with you. But now, I don't know. You see, this generation has been a fucking weird one, with both companies having experience in the shitter and in the limelight, and both becoming two-faced dicks. I will say that Sony has come off slightly worse during the 8th gen, at least until Microsoft summoned their trap card, with multiple controversies, being the first ones to jump on the $70 price hike, the $10 PS5 upgrade for Forbidden West after promising that it would be free, their pointless remakes. But for the most part, they've been able to stave off appearing as the major villain in the gaming community's eyes. That was until this massive fucking hiccup with the PC community, where they've now become global enemy number one. Because historically, Sony didn't like to play ball with their exclusives. PlayStation games were on PlayStation, and that was that. You want to play Uncharted? Buy a PlayStation. If you have an Xbox, go fucking play Tomb Raider. Exclusives were theirs and nobody else's, a philosophy that Nintendo still follows, even with fucking Gmod. That was until 2020, where Sony began experimenting with releasing games on Steam. Technically, they actually started in 2015, releasing Helldivers 1 on Steam. Ironic that the game that started their PC presence is also the one that nuked it, but their 2015 PC support stopped after 2 games. So that clearly failed, but they tried again in 2020, releasing Horizon on PC, which sold very well, topping the charts in August of that year. And then they did it again with The Predator. They did it again with Days Gone, which, shockingly enough, topped the charts again, and that shit probably sold better on Steam than it did on PS4. And then in early 2022, the real heavy hitter exclusives finally landed on PC, God of War 2018, which saw massive sales, and that's what the Sony likes. As after this, they started pushing exclusives out, hoping to get similar results. Spider-Man, Uncharted, Sackboy, Spider-Man again, Returnal, Last of Us, that one did not hit.
You know, when I first heard about this Last of Us thing, I was a little worried, but I'm doing just fine. I could have a bit more VRAM, but still just a solid 60 degrees, not too bad. Bro, you good up there? This is not okay. I am running at 90-degree heat. This is not okay. My face is floating. Shut the gate.
Helldivers 2, Forbidden West, Bloodborne.
No, not that one. Get that off the screen. We're not porting that one.
Clearly, these games are selling well enough for them to be continuously pushing them out, and knowing Sony, as well as every other fucking corporation, plans are likely being set in motion to try to make the most money out of it as possible, which for a while didn't seem very clear, as they were just releasing their back catalog and new games in a 1 to 2 year stagnation. I can guarantee you you'll be seeing Ragnarok soon. And it's an understandable strategy, gives people an incentive to buy their consoles while at the same time giving their exclusives a second wave of life a few years down the line to bump up their sale numbers during a lull point in the year where Sony might not have any new exclusives. And if that was all, that'd be fine. Sure, it's a bit annoying having to wait as a PC player, but it's nothing too sinister. That was until the Helldivers 2 controversy, which was the first sign of Sony potentially attempting to set up some sort of greedy ploy. You see, when Helldivers 2 released, it was the first time one of Sony's PC ports was really a multiplayer driven game. The rest of the games, for the most part, were all single player driven stories, meaning that there wasn't much of a reason or an incentive to make players link their accounts to PSN. Although with Helldivers 2, that changed 3 months later for some reason. As suddenly on May 2nd, 2024, Arrowhead made an announcement on Steam that by June 4th, all Helldivers players, new or old, would be required to have a PSN account to play their game. Signed, Sony Interactive Entertainment, just Arrowhead trying to indirectly say to us,
this is not us, this is them. They wanted this, don't yell at us.
and initially, I saw it as a bit of an annoyance, but didn't see why it was becoming such a massive deal when other companies, the Xbox, Ubisoft, EA, Rockstar, all had similar requirements and nobody batted an eye. That is until I realized that PSN isn't available in 121 countries around the world, and people from those 121 countries had already bought the game and were now locked out. Then yeah, okay, I started to get it. Thus, one of the biggest controversies of 2024 kicked off, as over the course of an entire weekend, Helldivers 2 was bombed on Steam. 300,000 negative reviews, trending for the entire weekend, their stocks looking like the Appalachians, and Sony's entire reputation from every media outlets all over was being dragged through the mud, causing them to release a statement at a fucking meandering pace after the game's reviews went from very positive to mostly negative, because mind you, Sony is the mega corporation. Those companies and all their employees are usually off on the weekends, and remember, this took place during a weekend. Good timing releasing that announcement on a fucking Thursday, guys. So while they were getting flamed online and most people were assuming that there were some hardcore meetings going on based on what they should do, the reality probably looked more like, can you come in? Until the Monday afterward, they did not waste a fucking hour. 12:33 a.m. on Monday, the May 6th, PlayStation reverses the decision. Those heads were waiting by the door to get that update out after seeing their stock market crash. And thus, the Helldivers 2 controversy was resolved. And I quote, "We're still learning what is the best for PC players." And evidently, they didn't learn shit, as those quietly announced about 20 hours later that Ghost of Tsushima's co-op would also require PSN linkage.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
After all of that, 300,000 negative reviews getting dragged through the mud for an entire weekend until they finally decided to walk it back, only for them to do it again less than a day later with a different game. Yeah, let's keep it on the download this time, and at launch too, so that you're not literally stealing it from the library of gamers in 120 different countries, except for the ones that pre-ordered it. And let's make it the co-op mode only in hopes to quell the outrage, so that if you want to play Ghost of Tsushima with a buddy, better not be in any of these countries.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity?
And mind you, if you read Sony's response on the Helldivers 2 controversy, they never directly say that this whole thing was over. Who knows if they're just waiting for this whole thing to simmer down and stealthily do it again. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima is officially not available in 120 countries. And despite damn near a week going by since the decision was reversed, Helldivers 2 also still isn't available, and new countries are being added to the block list, which just makes you wonder, why the fuck is the PSN link so fucking deep to them that they're willing to sacrifice the market of 120 countries, their stocks, and their fucking reputation? Well, and I will say, while the rest of this is very speculative, I think you can craft a pretty good idea of what Sony is going for based off gaming trends and history, specifically when it comes to Xbox's presence on the PC market. Sony may be attempting to do something very similar. 6 years prior to Sony beginning their PC presence with Helldivers 1 releasing on PC in 2015, Xbox was ahead of the curve, releasing The Maw in 2009. 265 reviews on Steam over the course of 15 years and an internal server error when you try to check out the Steam charts. What the fuck is The Maw? There were a few big games which came to PC afterwards: Fable in 2011, Halo spin-offs and War, Ori, Quantum Break, Sunset Overdrive. But Xbox's PC presence didn't really begin until 2019 with the release of Game Pass for PC in the summer of that year, and afterwards capitalizing on that launch with the release of Gears 5 and Halo MCC in 2019, and then Sea of Thieves later on in 2020. All requiring you to link to an Xbox account from day one, which was a very simple and effective way for Xbox to get PC players into their ecosystem and potentially get them to sub to their new Game Pass for PC subscription model, a ploy which worked very well until 2023, where their subscriptions only went up 1%. And now, Sony seems to be requiring a PSN link to play all their future games as well. Do you see where they're likely going with this? The only reason that I could really think of for these requirements is that Sony is following in Xbox's footsteps and is planning on launching a more direct PC presence that isn't just their games on Steam. It wouldn't be the first time Sony followed one of Xbox's successful business models. PS4's PlayStation Plus was identical to 360's Xbox Live, and now PS Plus Premium is damn near identical to Game Pass, except worse, and it's also up in the air if Game Pass is even fucking successful anymore. So Sony following in their footsteps once again with their PC presence seems very plausible. Now what this PC presence is, I cannot say for sure. My belief is that it's likely going to be some sort of launcher to play all their games on so that they don't have to split the revenue with Steam as much, as well as not having to get full refunds, because as you know, in Sony's eyes, once you paid money for that game, it's gone forever, no matter what. They can take their game back, you just can't take your money back. Best case scenario is this launcher would just be a different platform for you to buy their games on. Although with Sony only really requiring linkage for online games, I can see them gearing up for the worst case scenario, which is Sony forcing you to pay for PS Plus to play their online portions of these games. Why the fuck else would they want you to link to play online games specifically? Stop cheaters? They give a fuck, apparently. Better security? You're probably better off not linking. I do believe that some more permanent PlayStation presence on PC is headed our way. They wouldn't be doing all this BS otherwise. But if that presence is paying for online, let me just say this one thing before you even think about announcing it. Do not! Because if you didn't catch on to the hint of how stubborn PC players are when it comes to linking a fucking account, can you imagine how they will react to you telling them to pay $9.99 every month for something that's free on every other platform? You don't have to imagine, because I made it for you.
Hi everyone, I'm Jim Ryan and I have a very special announcement to make. From today moving forward, all of our games on PC will require you to be subscribed to the PlayStation Plus model. This is to ensure the best online experience for our players and guarantee no use of any third-party enhancements, as well as ensuring our players' privacy and security. So if you want to continue fighting for democracy in Helldivers 2, it'll just be for the low price of $9.99 a month or $79.99 a year. Nate, what's that noise?